A fast-moving winter storm is on the way, and this one is tracking a bit farther south compared to the last few weather systems we have been following. We will first go over the timing of this event, and then we will discuss how much snow or ice your neighborhood might see from this system. After that, we will look at a time frame I am watching for early next week, and then we will continue to piece together the forecast for the rest of December. A very good Thursday morning to you. I hope you are all doing well and have had a wonderful week so far. If you find this information helpful, please consider liking the video or subscribing to the channel. And as always, if anyone has anything I can offer a prayer for, please do leave it in the comments below. Now, let's get right to the weather this morning. This is the system we are watching. It is already in progress right now. We have snow flying across Oklahoma and a large area of moisture. This is just some good, old-fashioned rain down here in the deep south. We do have some snow squalls out across the Northeast and New England, and we will speak on that toward the latter half of the video. Some lake effect snow also continues in the Great Lakes region. Outside of that, not a great deal is going on. There is a storm system entering the Pacific Northwest, but this developing situation is the main show right here. So, let's go on and take a closer look at this. If you have been tuning in over the last couple of videos, I mentioned the potential for a significant impact zone somewhere in the panhandle of Texas and into areas of Oklahoma. And indeed, we now have a rather intense band of snow and sleet. If you are tuning in from this particular area, please let me know what you are seeing. I would be very interested to know, so please share it in the comments below. It does appear to be some fairly heavy snow and sleet out there. I did look at the actual real-time observations on the radar, and people are reporting both snow and sleet from this. So please let me know how much you have on the ground, if any at all. The radar is also showing some precipitation starting to move into northern Arkansas and the southwestern areas of Missouri. I am not certain if this is actually reaching the ground just yet, but a wintry mix is expected in these areas, like in Arkansas and even into western areas of Tennessee later on this afternoon. And down south, this is just some beneficial rain, and I would say it is much needed. We may even see some thunderstorms down here in the southern areas of Louisiana. Now, let's move on and discuss the current watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have ongoing winter weather advisories in effect. And you may recall, we mentioned in last night's video that we thought some of those special weather statements would end up being upgraded to winter weather advisories. And that is exactly what has happened for places like Oklahoma City. This also includes Norman, all the way over to Tulsa. We will have to see if any advisories are issued for Arkansas, or perhaps areas of Tennessee today. But for now, we just have special weather statements. And this is for what it says is a wintry mix, which is expected this afternoon through late this evening. We will discuss the timing of that as we move forward, and we do have some winter weather advisories to mention. These are in the Cumberland Plateau, some winter weather advisories in western areas of North Carolina, the northern areas of North Carolina from the Triad into the Triangle. A good portion of Virginia also has winter weather advisories, including areas of West Virginia. This does include Richmond, Roanoke, and Lynchburg. I hope you can see this graphic clearly. However, as of right now, it does stop south of the Washington, D.C. area. I could see some of these areas being upgraded to a winter storm warning, but we will just have to continue to monitor the situation. I believe if it does happen, it will occur during the storm itself, but we will continue to keep you informed. So, let's go over the evolution, the timeline of this winter storm. We will start off around midday today. We do have some winter weather starting to move into Arkansas. On the map, the blue represents snow, and the purple indicates sleet. If you see some pink, that is freezing rain. So, we are going to see a wintry mix across areas of Arkansas starting out around late this morning and really into about midday and early afternoon today. So, let's continue to move this forward. The time frame is displayed up here at the top. Just remember to back it up 1 hour if you are in the central time zone. We do have some winter weather moving into areas of Memphis and points north, maybe even Jonesboro. In fact, it shows some just plain, old-fashioned snow north of Memphis. This is sleet in Memphis, but it could be a combination of everything. It might just be straight sleet, or it might be a rain and sleet mix. But let's not get too lost in the specific details here. There are special weather statements in effect for a wintry mix later on this afternoon and into this evening, and then we will continue to move forward. Let's go ahead and just shift this a little farther to the east. This is where things could become more significant than forecast. In my opinion, this storm system has the potential to be an overachiever written all over it. As we get to about 7 or 8 post-meridian this evening, around dinner time, it just shows straightforward snow moving into Nashville. This extends even as far north as Bowling Green, Kentucky, and also includes Clarksville and Jackson, Tennessee. It is snowing in Murfreesboro. I hope I said that correctly. For you folks in Tennessee, you have snow flying around out there. And you continue to move this forward, and we get into later this evening. This is 9:10 o'clock. It is still snowing in Nashville. I am not sure if this is going to be the way it plays out, but we could get a wintry mix as far south as, well, south of Nashville in the southern areas of Tennessee, and then we continue to move forward. Does it start out as a wintry mix, say in Knoxville? You can see the Tennessee Valley quite well right here between the Cumberland Plateau and the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Could we get a brief wintry mix in Knoxville and the Tennessee Valley? Absolutely. We will just have to watch. And, you know, it has now become something we have to observe in real time. We just have to see how everything unfolds. But this is just straightforward snow moving into southern areas of Kentucky. We have snow moving into areas of southwest Virginia. And we continue to move forward here, and we are starting to get into about midnight tonight. And this is heavy snow. And look, the latest high-resolution model has this as snow in places like Johnson City, the Tri-Cities area and region of Tennessee. So this is a little new. It is cold enough now to start out as snow in these areas. And I know I have a lot of people following from this area. So let's hope this is correct. If you are a winter weather fan, it is snowing in areas of eastern Kentucky, snowing in the northeastern areas of Tennessee. Any kind of winter weather is beginning to end in Nashville around midnight tonight. And then a quick-hitting snowstorm begins to move into areas of Virginia and surrounding states. And here it comes. And I am telling you, wherever that rain-snow line is, just to the north of it, you folks are going to see really heavy wet snow, but you are going to be very close to that rain-snow line. If you get to the south, it is going to switch to what we call white rain, and you are right on that mix line, or it could just be plain rain. But this is heavy snow moving into Roanoke and Lynchburg, and moderate snow moving into Richmond. This is around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning tonight. So, this system has trended much faster. So, if you are thinking this is going to move in right during the morning rush hour in these areas, no, not so fast. It is going to move in much earlier now, just after midnight. So, Beckley is getting some snow. It is snowing just north of Hickory. This is just straightforward rain. In Charlotte and Greensboro, it is rain at first. But if this model is correct, we will continue to move forward, and it will begin to switch to a wintry mix as we get to 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. And then we will start to switch to a period of snow. It may be sleet in Hickory, while in Danville, it is all snow. The same goes for Richmond and Petersburg. Could you start out with some snow in Norfolk? The Hampton Roads area? Places like that? Absolutely. Look, you have a little bit of snow trying to move into the Tidewater. It is snowing in a good portion of whatever is falling in Virginia, with snow except for the far southeast corner of the state. And you keep going here if we can get this going, and we start to get into, say, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun is beginning to come up, and it is just snowing in Greensboro. It is snowing in Danville, and in southwest Virginia, it is still snowing like crazy. You know, Asheville, Boone, and really the Boone and Banner Elk area. I think you have winter weather advisories for a reason. You are going to get a solid kind of snow to wintry mix type of situation. I think it could stay all snow. If you get down here in Nashville, I just do not think the high pressure from this cold air event is in a favorable position to get any kind of heavy winter weather from this. But we will see. And listen, Charlotte, Concord, you know, Salisbury, you folks could, especially near Salisbury and definitely near Statesville, you could certainly start off as a wintry mix, but then it will eventually switch to rain. And I could see that happen as far south as Charlotte, but I think 95% of the storm is going to be just good old-fashioned cold rain, but we will continue to finish off the life of this storm. It could have some lingering energy behind it. So, this is kind of new. This is around 10 o'clock Friday morning. There are still some areas of light snow and a wintry mix out here, but we will continue to figure out the bulk of the storm up here. There is some snow up here in Delaware and the Washington, D.C. area. And we will keep this going here, and it could taper off to some snow around Richmond, maybe even Salisbury up here in Maryland, closer to Delaware, as we start to move into early Friday afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, you can say now, and then the storm ends. So, are we going to get any activity up here in, like, the New York City or New Jersey area? I think it is possible, but for now, it just looks mainly dry up there. But there is a possibility this could trend farther north over the next 12 to 24 hours, so we have to watch. A lot of times these systems like to be farther north than what is being modeled. Now, as far as how much snow is expected, let's update this. This is Arkansas. A touch of snow is possible as far as accumulation in the northwestern areas of the state. Fayetteville is going for 0.2 of an inch of snow. It could be snowing in these areas already, but we are not going for any accumulations in central Arkansas. But if you look at the latest high-resolution model run, it does show a touch of snow, a dusting, kind of east of Little Rock into the Memphis area. It actually drops 0.3 of an inch of snow in Memphis, and kind of just in the eastern and northeastern sections of the state. And then we look at Kentucky, and then we look at Tennessee. A few tenths of an inch of snow is possible out here in these areas based off the National Weather Service forecast, but they are definitely not buying much snow in these areas. Just a dusting here and there, enough to make the ground white. But if you look at the high-resolution model run, and I want to show you this, too. I want to compare it. Okay, it shows a band of snowfall accumulation right through the heart of Middle Tennessee, starting from Memphis and going up to Jackson. Nashville shows 0.4 of an inch of snow. Even areas south of Nashville, between Columbia and Nashville, are showing 1 inch of snow in these blue-shaded regions. Cookeville is also forecast for 1 inch of snow, and you do have winter weather advisories in effect for this area. The latest data now indicates 0.8 of an inch of snow for Johnson City. The next model run for the long-range forecast will begin within the next hour, and we will be watching closely to see what it shows. However, one thing I am seeing is a trend toward more winter weather in the Tri-Cities area of northeast Tennessee, for those who may not be familiar. Now, I do not want to guarantee that, because the official National Weather Service forecast is not calling for much in this area. It does show some dusting amounts. For Knoxville, perhaps 0.1 of an inch of snow, with a little bit of snow in the Smokies. The forecast does not favor that area a great deal, but we will keep a close watch on it. And then we start to get into the heart of the storm system. I do want to begin by showing you all the forecast for the Greenville-Spartanburg area, which covers southwest North Carolina and surrounding communities. We see here Marion with 0.3 of an inch of snow, Burnsville with 0.4, and Newland could receive an inch of snow. Hickory up to Lenoir could see a couple of tenths of an inch of snow, which is just enough to put a dusting on the ground, but these areas right here could certainly see higher amounts. I am telling you now, it is a real possibility, and I will show you a model run for these areas as well. A little bit of ice is possible in that region, though I do not expect a large amount. I truly do not believe we will get enough freezing rain in any of these areas to cause significant impacts. I really do not, but we will take a look at the Raleigh area. Durham, just north of Raleigh, could see 0.5 an inch of snow. Henderson is forecast for 0.5 an inch, and Roxborough, 0.5 an inch of snow. Greensboro and Winston-Salem are also looking at 0.5 an inch. But please listen, these are the areas that have the potential to receive more than forecast. As for those freezing rain totals, I will show them to you, but they are not calling for very much. So there is no need to spend too much time on this particular graphic. Now, let us take a look at Virginia, where a couple of inches of snow is in the forecast. So, they have definitely increased these snowfall totals. This is the actual National Weather Service forecast, which is calling for a couple to a few inches of snow in these areas. In Roanoke and Blacksburg, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of snow is possible in these regions. And there it is, now calling for 2 to 3 inches in Mount Airy. And as you can tell, this is an updated graphic. In fact, let's check if we have another update. We do not. So, it actually extends some of these heavier snowfall totals further into northern North Carolina compared to the graphic from the Raleigh office. So, these are certainly some decent snowfall totals. And if you are thinking that 1 to 2 inches of snow is not very much and feels disappointing, please remember that it is early December. This is going to happen on a Friday, right in the middle of the Christmas season. I encourage you to take this forecast and enjoy it. If they were calling for 1 to 2 inches of snow at my house in early December, I can assure you I would be very pleased. We will just leave it at that. Now, we will show you areas of eastern Virginia. The forecast is not calling for much in the Hampton Roads area or the Norfolk region. However, once you get west of this area, from Richmond to Petersburg, 1 to 2 inches of snow is possible. And these areas could see higher amounts as well. Forecasters have indeed increased the snowfall totals for this region. And then we move into the Tidewater to Delmarva Peninsula region. A few tenths of an inch of snow is possible in these areas right here in southern Maryland. This is enough to make the ground white. And you know, this would be enough to put you in the Christmas spirit, in my opinion. A little bit of freezing rain is possible in this area, and I will show it to you. A few hundredths of an inch, but I mean, just a light glaze is expected. I do not think that is going to be a significant issue at all. And then we take a look up here, and let us update this to see if we have any new information. We do not. A few tenths of an inch of snow is possible. As we get down near Fredericksburg, 1 inch is forecast. Charlottesville, 1 inch and a little more. For Washington and Baltimore, around 0.5 an inch of snow is possible. In fact, that is what is forecast right now. This is enough to put a nice coating on the ground, And then I will show some attention a little farther north. You know, for Delaware in general, they are forecasting around a half an inch of snow for the entire state, and the southern half of New Jersey could get a touch of snow also. But I do want to take a look at the high-resolution model. The high-resolution model forecast for snow. It is calling for more substantial totals. For instance, it is forecasting a solid 2 to 2.5 inches in Hickory. There is an area right here where North Carolina connects to Southwest Virginia, where it is forecasting over half a foot of snow in this pink area. For Roanoke, a good 3 inches, but it really seems to want to focus here. If any area is going to get upgraded to a winter storm warning, let's go back and look at this. It is going to be this region right here, and I believe some winter weather advisories are going to be issued for these regions too. So, if any area is going to exceed expectations and meet that winter storm warning criteria, it is going to be right here in Southwest Virginia and even the northwestern areas of North Carolina. But this model is showing 2 inches of snow in Richmond and a small area of over 3 inches south of Richmond. It then drops to around an inch in Charlottesville and not a great deal more. The high-resolution model really keeps this system farther south, but it does bring 1 to 2 inches of snow into the Tidewater region, areas of the Delmarva Peninsula, Maryland, and southern Maryland into areas of southern Delaware. And it is trying to bring an inch or two of snow to Johnson City. So, there you have it. And then we look at the NAM model. The overall pattern is similar, but everything is shifted farther to the north. So, this model only shows 1/10 of an inch of snow in Hickory. For Greensboro, only 7/10 of an inch of snow. So with this model, everything is shifted farther to the north, and that is a realistic possibility. I do want to mention the timing. Please listen, this storm has trended faster. So if you are asleep, which most people will be, and you think that this will not start until the sun comes up tomorrow, you would be mistaken. And if you are a fan of winter weather, you will want to see this as it is falling, those just beautiful flakes. If you really want to experience that special atmosphere in the middle of the night, when it is completely silent and the snow is just coming down in blankets, while the world is asleep, you may have seen those lovely videos online of people looking out into the darkness at enormous, beautiful snowflakes. Well, this is going to be the atmosphere probably in Roanoke after midnight tonight, or right around midnight. This is heavy snow moving in at 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. So, I will click the atmospheric sounding right here in Southwest Virginia, and we are going to try not to get too technical, but the surface temperature is 28 degrees, shown in red. And then you see that green line, that is a 27-degree dew point. So, the dew point is following right behind the air temperature at the surface, which means the air is very moist. This is not a situation where you have a dew point of 10 degrees and an air temperature of 28, where you have to saturate the lower levels of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is saturated all the way up to about 20, 30, even 40,000 feet up in the air, and then some dry air is introduced. But when you see the green line right up on the red line like that, the dew point is right against the temperature, and at the 500 millibar level, 18,000 feet up, the air column is completely saturated. That means the atmosphere is going to produce a great deal of snow, if it is cold enough high above us for snow to form. And it is, because if you look at this blue line right here, this is the 32-degree freezing line aloft. And this entire column, temperature-wise, is below that 32-degree line, so this is going to fall as all snow. There is a little warm layer, but it is not warm enough to go over that 32-degree line and melt these snowflakes, causing this to fall as more of a wintry mix or just rain. It is cold enough at all levels of the atmosphere, and the column is what we call completely saturated. So, all the available moisture in the atmosphere is going to fall as heavy, wet snow. Therefore, these snowflakes will clump together, creating these very large snowflakes. And it is just going to be a beautiful snow. It truly is. So please, enjoy that. I am a little bit jealous, perhaps very jealous, but I just wanted to explain what could happen in certain areas and how, when you get that situation, a lot of times you can get higher totals than forecast. You can get 2 inches of snow in 1 hour. It happens quite a lot. Now, I do want to mention a time frame for early next week. This is something I have been watching, and while it has really trended away from us, as we start to move into Sunday morning, a lot of moisture is still going to be with us down here in the southeast, but we have a clipper system diving in. This is going to bring some moderate snow across areas of the Midwest, and as it dives in, there is an attempt at some phasing with the energy, and I think it succeeds. We just do not have enough cold air in place. There is some connection here, but this is mainly rain, shown in green, across areas of the southeast, with snow where it normally snows in early December. But really, as we move past this, is there any kind of connection? This turns into a quick-hitting snowstorm up here on Monday morning. But no, not really. There will be a little bit of backside northwest flow snow in the mountains of the Appalachian Mountains, but nothing significant. We are not seeing that very aggressive model run we were seeing a couple of nights ago. Not last night, but the night before last. So that possibility has gone away. Now, after we move past that system, we continue to see more energy. Here comes another clipper system diving in across the Midwest. This could bring some more snow. This is into Wednesday. And then as we get into Thursday of next week, it does show a little bit of snow getting as far south as the Smokies and the Central Appalachians here in West Virginia. And then after that, who knows what will happen? I mean, really, as we get into next weekend, we will have to figure that one out. Now, what about the latest European model? This is only going to go 144 hours out, so we might have to switch it here. But it shows the same thing. As we get deeper into the weekend, some moisture stays with us down here in the deep south. Here comes another clipper. It is probably going to bring some more snow across the Midwest. It even shows some heavier snow in Iowa as we are getting into Sunday morning. It could be a festive day on Sunday across Chicago and other areas of the Midwest. Is there any connection here? It tries to do something. There is some moisture here and a little bit of snow in the mountains, at the higher elevations, but it is mainly just a cool rain. And then, after that, as we get into late next week, another clipper, well, this is about midway through next week, another clipper system dives through the Great Lakes region, and this is as far out as we can see with this model. And then we have another system about to dive in. We will go back to the long-range model, and it does show a big trough diving in, and it shows some higher elevation snow with it. We will simply have to wait and see how that situation develops. On a personal note, I am certainly hopeful, as I will be heading to the mountains Wednesday night into Thursday. So, a little bit of fresh snow would be a very welcome sight. After that point, looking toward this time next week, the forecast becomes much more uncertain. But if you examine the European ensemble model, you can observe a clipper system diving down from the Midwest. This is shown in 24-hour periods. There is a possibility of snowfall, shown in 24-hour increments, as we move forward into Sunday. Then, as we get into Monday, you can see light indications of activity across the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, followed by another signal of a clipper system moving in. After that, a larger trough of low pressure has the potential to move in. This appears to be another rather energetic clipper, bringing snow to areas that have already been experiencing it. Then, as we approach Friday, there is an indication of some northwest flow precipitation, reaching as far south as the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Beyond that time, however, the forecast is highly speculative, as I continue to mention. However, there is little reliability in looking much beyond the 7-day mark, even though this model extends out a full 240 hours, which is 10 days from now. It shows the footprint of potential snow mostly across the northern tier of the country. This area right here is mainly associated with the system arriving over the next 24 to 48 hours. Therefore, there is no signal between now and next week for any significant deep south snow, which is something I was not anticipating. I have been discussing at length how this is going to be a pattern dominated by the northern stream, and you can see that here. This is the smoothed-out European ensemble, starting this coming Sunday. You can observe some energy diving in here that could potentially phase with another system. However, it does not appear that it will. Following that, there may be some energy right here, but this looks to be a pattern primarily dominated by the northern jet stream. When I say that, I mean that all of the significant energy is diving down from Canada. We have to watch if any energy can develop further south and create some sort of connection, but most of this energy is originating from the north, and that appears to be the continuing pattern moving forward. Then, as we get into late next week, we have a trough that attempts to dive southward, which hints at the idea of more energy moving into the south, but I still do not believe this will phase with any southern stream energy and develop into a major storm system. It is possible we could trend that way, but we are reaching a point where a change would need to happen soon. I would not say we are running out of time, but we are getting into a time frame where, if the pattern is going to trend one way or the other, it needs to begin doing so now, in my opinion. It does show some energy digging deep, which to me strongly indicates a rather aggressive clipper-type system diving south. At the end of the day, that results in northwest flow conditions for the mountains before the trough retreats back to the north. And that is consistent when you look at the overall pattern map. The blue colors represent a trough of low pressure, while the yellows and oranges indicate high-pressure ridging, as do the reds. So, as we are heading into the middle of next week, we have a trough over the central and eastern areas of the country. It appears to be digging down once again. That is a signal to me, as we get into next Thursday and Friday, for a blast of potentially Arctic air. In any case, it will be very cold air diving down once again around this time next week. When you see this greenish color embedded within the blue, it means this trough is digging very deeply. So, it could certainly bring a shot of cold air, and there will absolutely be energy associated with it. But that does not mean we are going to get a major storm system. That trough will dive in and then move out rather quickly. Then we have this ridge of high pressure that tries to build in around the middle of the month. There has been talk about a mid-month warm-up, and I think that is very possible, even likely. I just do not believe it is going to last for very long. You can already see this as we get into the week leading up to Christmas. I would say by the last weekend before Christmas, the blue colors start to show up once again for the eastern United States. So, the warmth just does not look to be long-lived, and the pattern does not support it. And if we look at temperatures compared to the average, the blues and the greens represent below-average temperatures. What you are going to see here as we move into next week is quite telling. For the eastern United States, we could have a brief warm-up, perhaps Wednesday into Thursday of next week across the south. And then there is a strong signal for another powerful cold front late next work week. The cold air will then take back over the eastern United States. How long that remains with us is something we will have to see. But there is a fairly strong signal for a ridge building across the south-central United States. And you can see cold air building back in at the end of the model run. Then, at the very end, you can see the blue colors return. So, I believe the next thing we are watching, after this approaching winter storm over the next 48 hours, is this next trough digging in around this time next week, and what it could bring. That is going to be the next topic of our discussion. Now, if we look at the MJO, and let me just update the browser here, and we will go back down and look at the European model. Yes, so this is the new information we have, which we have been discussing quite a bit. Let's explain this a little. Phases 6, 5, and 4 are generally warm phases across most of the country. By contrast, phases 8, 1, and 2 are cold phases, which bring us more chances for winter weather. Phase 7 and Phase 3 are what we call transitional phases. We have just left Phase 7, and we are now in Phase 8. I will mention that Phase 8 is a very good phase for cold and winter weather, especially in the month of December, even for areas farther to the south. However, just because we move into Phase 8 does not mean the atmosphere immediately responds. It doesn't mean we will suddenly see major winter storms all the way down to Mobile, Alabama. That is not how it works. There is normally a lag period, and there is a debate on whether that lag is a few days or a couple of weeks. I believe a colleague I read on social media last night said it very well. We are in something of a provisional Phase 8 because its effects have not yet reached the surface, but I do believe that will change. So, these 3 points right here represent yesterday, which was December the 3rd. Today, we are on December the 4th, so we are between the 3 and 5 day markers. The model shows us remaining in Phase 8 for a long period of time. It could dip into what some call the circle of death, though I prefer to call it the circle of confusion. This simply represents a low amplitude version of whatever phase we are in. This means it would have a low impact on the actual weather pattern. But, let's not focus too much on that. We are in Phase 8, and we will have to see what happens. Will we remain in it for a while? If we do, then it is inevitable the atmosphere will respond. Now, as for today's weather, I do want to mention the snow squalls across the Northeast. We have them ongoing right now, and it is going to be windy. A strong surge of Arctic air is going to move in. It is very cold for your family and friends west of this area, with temperatures well below zero. We will speak on the north-central United States here in a moment, but we are going to have some intermittent snow squalls across this area. It is not going to add up to a whole lot, but it is going to be brutally cold. And here are the predicted wind gust swaths from the National Weather Service for today. We could get some 30, 40, or even 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts with some of these snow squalls. So please be aware that we will more than likely see some snow squall warnings issued. Not much snow is expected from this. When I look at the snowfall forecast, some areas could get a few inches of snow from this, but please do not expect a great deal. Now, we are going to move past the southeast because we already talked about it, and then we will move past the south-central United States because we have already spoken on that as well. But I do want to start with the north-central United States. These are the current temperatures right now across areas of Iowa and Minnesota, 10 to 15 degrees below zero. This is not the feels-like temperature, this is the actual air temperature. It is brutally cold across these areas. I will take a look at the upper Midwest, too, and it is just frigid. It feels like January, but as for the weather, it is simply a story of brutal Arctic air. And any snow that does fall will accumulate very easily in these conditions. We have some snow flurries around the northern sections of Minnesota, and a little bit of lake effect snow off Lake Superior, moving into sections of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Then we have a clipper system diving in. This will add to snow totals later tonight, and then by the time we get into tomorrow morning, we will see light to moderate snow flying around, embedded in this trough. It will be a very cold, very dry, powdery snow that will blow around quite easily. It is not going to pack down like a wet snow does. Now, as for conditions out west, we do have a new storm system we are trying to analyze. We expect snow in the higher elevations and rain in the lower elevations. And as we begin to move into the overnight hours tonight, the northern Rockies will start to see heavy snow. We will then have to see what happens with this system next. Temperatures are very, very cold. These are the high temperatures, and it is just brutally cold across the Midwest, points north, and the interior of the Northeast. It is just cold everywhere. We have some cold air also in the Southeast. Meanwhile, Florida is quite pleasant in the 70s and 80s, and these are the temperatures out west. All right. Let's make this our timestamp and turn to our Bible devotion. I am running a bit low on time, but we cannot forget about this. This morning, we are in Romans, chapter 12, verses 19 through 21. For those getting the kids ready for school, I hope you can listen along. It says, "Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, 'I will take revenge. I will pay them back,' says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink, for in so doing you will be heaping fiery coals on his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good." I think many of us have probably heard that phrase about heaping fiery coals on someone's head, and I always appreciate that imagery. The message is, do not seek revenge against your enemy, for God has that handled. Instead, show love to your enemy. This can cause them to feel conviction for what they have done. Sometimes that conviction makes them more angry, and sometimes it does the opposite. Regardless, at least a small seed of shame is planted that could eventually drive them to change their ways. You know, one way that I personally struggle in this area is through sarcasm. I can be very sarcastic, and I have talked to you all about that before. Most of the time, sarcasm is not driven by the right motivation, so it is probably not the right way to handle things. For me personally, that is something I need to improve upon, and as I prepare to sign off, I would like to share one final thought. I have learned to feel a genuine sympathy for people who behave poorly, and I do not mean that in a condescending way. My heart truly goes out to those folks who act in a bitter or unpleasant manner. More often than not, if I were to estimate a figure, I would say in about 95% of those cases, their behavior stems from something they are enduring, a difficult experience from their past, or a challenge they are currently facing, and frankly they do not know how to cope with it. The reality is that many people struggle to manage their emotions. They are unable to pause in the moment and recognize, I am reacting poorly. They do not realize they are treating another person this way because of their own inner turmoil. And whether that trouble is self-inflicted or not, the emotional response to it usually causes harm to others. I try to remember that the person is likely going through something difficult, perhaps something truly terrible, because it is hard for me to believe that people are simply born with that kind of nature. It is a strange thing. As you know, I manage our online community here, so I see a great deal of negativity and read many harsh comments. Typically, they come from people who are hiding behind a screen, using an anonymous profile. Now, I am not mentioning this to make it about myself, but I have found that I simply do not get upset about it anymore. There was a time when I certainly did. It used to stir me up, and I would find myself typing out long responses to people. But now, I do not even bother. On a rare occasion, I may offer a short reply. In any case, that is all I have on the matter. Thank you all for tuning in today. God bless all of you. As I mentioned in last night's video, I have been having a bit of trouble finding a good rhythm for these updates lately. It has been a bit of a struggle, I will admit. So, I am hopeful we can get back on track soon. I even felt it at the beginning of this video today. It is funny, because many times I will go back and listen to myself and think, well, that was not as bad as I thought it was. I certainly hope this was not too bad for you. I wish you all a wonderful day. We will connect again and see how things are looking this evening.